What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 2, all aboard the Gaslight Express. So let me just cut to the chase. Kenya comes over to Sheree's mansion, Chateau Sheree. The house is sick. It's a beautiful home. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous home. I want to know, how is Sheree generating income to maintain a house this size? Because I'm pretty sure, you think about the house cleaning, when you think about, just the utility bills and whatnot, it's a pretty penny. So I know she doesn't have a mortgage because she built it from the ground up. I don't know if she still owes the contractors for building this home. I don't know. I want to know, how is Sheree getting her money? Because after she left the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I don't know what was going on with her as far as generating income. And I don't think her ex-husband, the football player, gave her, like, if he gave her a settlement, I don't think it was an astronomical amount for her to be able to live on for the rest of her life. So I'm very curious to know how Sheree is generating income when she was not on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So Sheree cannot wait to take Kenya down to the basement because a few years ago, Kenya threw a lot of shade at Sheree for having an incomplete basement. So they go downstairs to the basement. The basement is sick. The basement has an entire bar. It has an entertainment room. It has a spa room. It has a lounge. I mean, the basement is completely decked out. It's an entity all in itself. Kenya even mentioned something about how the ceilings were pretty high for a basement. So I don't know how Sheree's doing all of this. So, so they sit down and they start talking, and Sheree tells Kenya all the things that Marlo had to say about Kenya at Marlo's fashion event. So Sheree tells her that Marlo talked about her white refrigerator that she had, I don't know how many years ago, when she was renting some condo or some apartment. Marlo talked about Kenya having to borrow a car from Lisa Ray, and Kenya downplayed the white refrigerator. She was like, well, at least I could pay my rent when I was living in that house that had the white refrigerator in it. And then as far as the car, she was like, I don't even know Lisa Ray like that for her to be lending me her cars. So then Sheree calls Sonia to kind of vouch for what Marlo had said. And so, so basically Sonia agreed. Yeah, the girl was talking about you. So then Kenya talks about how Marlo, because Marlo had like some type of a hair transplant situation where she took care from the back and implanted them on her edges because she had no edges or something. So Kenya talks about how Marlo shouldn't be talking about anybody with her Bosley hair transplant edges. Kenya, she just knows how to read. So then Kenya talks about that Candy had told her that Drew had told Candy that Sheree and Drew share the same assistant. And this is the assistant that we saw when when Candy and Sonia went over to Drew's house. He was the one that greeted them at the door. So his name is Anthony. So Kenya's like, yeah, you and Drew share the same assistant, and that particular assistant has been telling Drew all of your personal business, and that assistant is also spreading the word that you haven't been able to pay them. And so Sheree kind of downplayed her relationship with this assistant. She was like, I really don't really use him like that. I just call him on an as needed basis. So she really minimized, like how close or how much her and this assistant work together. So she completely downplayed it and she completely brushed it off. But I don't think it's forgotten. So, Kenya says, well, there's a lot going on in Drew's own house. She's dealing with her husband and his wayward ways. Now there's there's some assistant, who wanted to give her husband a massage. And Sheree was like, yeah, Drew needs to be worried more about what's going on with her marriage than what's going on with me and my assistant. Moving on. So let's talk about Drew. So Drew is having dinner at her house with her husband, and Drew tells Ralph that Candy found your assistant's Instagram, and Ralph immediately tells her, I fired her. And so Drew was like, oh, okay, so it's like, completely done and over with now. And Ralph is like, well, we still talk, but she just doesn't work for me anymore. And I'm like, Ralph, are you stupid? Like, how does that make it any better? Because at least when she was working for you, there was an excuse or a reason of why you would be communicating with her. Now that you fired her, why would you still be communicating with her? And why are you admitting this to your wife? Like, are you dumb? What are you talking about? You're still talking to someone that you fired. You're talking to a female that your wife had an issue with. You're still communicating with her after the business relationship is over. Like, what's wrong with you, Drew? I mean, Ralph. So Ralph says, if you don't want me to talk to her ever again, I need you to say it. I need you to just say it. I want to hear it from your own mouth that you don't want me to talk to her ever again. And then Drew says, I'm not going to say that because at some point later on, you're going to resent me for telling you that. So I want you to make that decision for yourself to do what's best for our marriage. And Ralph says, there's a lot of things that I have resentment for. Then he got up. Did he leave? I don't know if he got up and left, but I do know that Drew got up and she threw away an entire plate of food because the private chef had cooked them this really beautiful meal. And I guess she lost her appetite. She should have wrapped that up in some foil and put that in the refrigerator and eat that, later on, or eat it the next day. Like, you threw an entire plate of delicious food. Like, what the hell, Drew? What's going on here? So, and plus, by the way, this assistant is 50 years old because Ralph was like, she's 50 years old. She's 18 years older than me. And Drew was like, it doesn't matter. I mean, evidently, the woman is banging at 50 years old because Drew was really, shook by her. So moving on to Candy. Candy is a producer of a play called Thoughts of a Colored Man. The significance of this is that this all black cast play opened on Broadway, which is major. I think Candy said this is the first all black cast to ever open on Broadway. I'm not sure. If it is, kudos to Candy for making it happen because that is a feat within itself. So Candy and Todd are talking and they're talking about, because she's going to be, now she's involved in this play, so she's going to be gone a lot. She was talking about how she has to travel a lot between Atlanta and New York because she's the producer of the play. And Todd was like, well, then Candy says something about, whenever you're not around, because I guess Todd was talking about leaving or something. And so Candy was like, whenever you're not here, it's like it causes a disruption in our household. And because he takes a lot of vacations, and I'm like, damn, Todd, your wife is grinding constantly. Candy is always, always, always grinding. She doesn't even have time to take a vacation herself. And now here you are taking a whole bunch of vacations by yourself. So Candy said, no, then Todd said, well, you're gone a lot too. And Candy's like, yeah, but when I'm gone, I'm working, I'm making money. Unlike Todd, when he's on his, mini vacations, he's spending money. I don't know. I used to like Todd and I used to really defend Todd, especially when Mama Joyce would come after him. But now as I'm seeing him more and more, especially when I've seen him on Candy and the Gang, I'm kind of having second thoughts about Todd. I mean, he's really coming across like a freeloader or a user or someone who's just riding on the coattails of his wife. And he just wants to put up a front that he's working really hard. But as soon as him and Candy got married, he was probably like, okay, now I'm living on Easy Street now because my wife is wealthy. I don't know what's going on with Todd, but the more I see him, the less I'm beginning to like him. So, Todd is also feeling some kind of way that he's not involved with the play because this is Candy's own project and her and Todd are not doing it together. With their other business ventures, they're partners, and this one, she's completely solo. So then they start talking about Todd's condo in Jersey. So Todd and his ex-wife owned a condo in New Jersey. When they split up, she left and he ended up keeping the condo. No, he left. When they split up, he left and she ended up staying in the condo, but she never refinanced it in her own name. So then when she left, he ended up buying the condo, paying it off, and now it's his condo. And so, Candy was, I guess, giving him crap about how he is very invested in this condo, and he's more invested in that condo than he is in the home that they share together in Atlanta. For example, the pool that he had started renovating is still unfinished, but he's really concerned about about fixing up the condo in New Jersey. And Todd is trying to say to her, well, babe, it's our condo together. And she's like, my name ain't on that condo. And Todd says, well, my name isn't on this house. And so then Candy's like, but you have the key to this house, so you have access to this house. I don't have a key to your condo. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. If it's causing this much of a rift between them, Todd, sell your damn condo and just sell it, because Candy says she doesn't really want to be that invested or that involved in a piece of property that he owned with his ex. So that makes a lot of sense. Todd, sell that damn condo. So are we done with Candy? We're done with Candy. Moving on to Marlo. Marlo goes to visit Candy. I don't know if this was at her house or where they were at, but she goes to see Candy. Candy's in the middle of a photo shoot. She's dressed up like the Wicked Witch of the West. I have no idea what was going on. So they're talking, and Marlo's talking about how she needs a village to help her raise these nephews, because she has no idea what she's doing with her two nephews. They were just basically like dropped at her doorstep, and she had to take over as, their mother, their Monty. And so, Marlo gets on Candy's case about, hey, you don't ever invite my kids anywhere. You don't ever come see my children. And Candy was like, well, you've never invited me to come over to your house. And so Marlo's like, you know what? My door is always open for you, Candy. So I don't know what you're talking about. I guess I didn't understand where Marlo was coming. Like, why did Marlo feel like Candy has some type of responsibility to help her with her nephews? Now, granted, Candy told us that her and Marlo first met when Marlo was dating Candy's godson or something, but they're still not like blood related. So I don't understand why Marlo felt the need to put this guilt trip on Candy about Candy not helping her with these boys. I didn't get it at all, but I guess, Candy's going to try to do better. So moving on with Drew. Ralph wants to reconnect with Drew. They were working out, and he tells Drew, you know what, we need to make time for ourselves. And so I really want to plan something special for just the two of us. And that's what we're going to see later on. Now, back to Marlo. Marlo's manager, Justin, and his wife, they help her out a lot with the boys. They're her manager. They manage her career, I guess, and her businesses. I don't know. But they also help her with the boys. Justin really is an important figure because the kids don't have a father. So he's like Uncle Justin to them, and he's like a father figure to them. Her oldest nephew is getting ready to go to a school dance. And so Marlo lets us know that she's already had the talk with him about the birds and the bees. And then more importantly, she's also had a talk with him about the whole Me Too movement. And I love the fact that Marlo talked to her nephews about the Me Too movement, because in this day and age, one wrong move will ruin the entire life of a young man, especially a young black man. So keep your damn hands to your damn self. No means no, no matter what. No matter what part of or what stage you are with a girl, as soon as she says no, no means no, you pump the brakes and you get the hell out of there. And you keep your hands to yourself at all times, because this is a very different atmosphere, and one wrong move and you're done. So I was really happy to hear about that. Moving on to Drew. So Ralph has planned a very special evening for him and Drew. He went all out. I mean, throughout the whole day, she was getting flowers, and people were coming over to dress her and do her makeup and her hair. And he bought her an outfit. And I was like, let's talk about that damn outfit. I didn't like, Ralph, where did you get that damn dress, that yellow dress for Drew? Did you get that in the children's section? Because that dress was so incredibly short. I don't think Drew was comfortable at all. I mean, it was super duper short. There was a scene where she was walking up some stairs and the camera was behind her, and you could see the beginning of her butt cheeks in that damn dress. Ralph, do you not know your wife's size? What the hell is going on? That dress was so short. It was so incredibly short, and it was very intricate. So it seemed like it was uncomfortable just from the way that it was designed. Plus, it was ridiculously short. So anyways, so he has a special day planned. Like throughout the day, he was like sending her, like I said before. Then it comes time for them to have dinner. So the car comes to pick her up, takes her to a closet. She shows up and she's led into somebody's closet. I guess he said this was his tailor's home. I was like, what are we doing in the closet, Ralph? What is this? Why are we in the closet? But anyways, they end up going outside to this beautiful terrace, and there's a table laid out, decked out for dinner. Everything is nice. So they sit down, and he tells her from the beginning that he wanted this night to just be like, let's not talk about marital problems. Let's just enjoy each other. So Drew was like, so you're basically saying that I can't, communicate. I can't say what I want to say. Somehow or another, they start talking about their marital issues. Things go completely left. He said a couple of things that were kind of problematic. She said some things that were problematic. He said that, he has changed, what did he call it? He has changed the tiers of his life. What did he call it? Like, what's important to him? The order. He has changed the order, like what's important to him. And first it's God, then it's him, then it's his wife, and then it's the kids. Where before he said he had put himself last. And so Drew was like, oh, okay, so you're first. It's God and then you and then me. Okay, so you can tell that Drew didn't really care for that. And then she called him, at some point she called him a maniac. Ralph was trying so hard to not talk about marital issues, but then he himself had brought up something that their marriage counselor had said because he didn't like how she talked to him. She said something to him and he didn't like what she said. And he told her, I don't know what the counselor had called Drew, but he brought up something that the counselor had said. And then Drew brought up, well, the counselor has called you a maniac. And he was like, how could you say that to me? Like, how could you call me a maniac? You cannot be as successful as I am by being a maniac. And so she pulls out her phone and she reads the definition of a maniac. And obviously it wasn't good. And I'm like, okay, Drew, where are we going with this? Ralph is problematic. He lies. He manipulates. He gaslights. He has this weird relationship with his assistant, obviously. But I felt like for that particular night, if Ralph had told her, I don't want to talk about heavy conversations about our issues, our marital problems, I just want us to enjoy each other tonight. I think Drew should have just went with that. Give him the benefit of the doubt and just go with that. Now, that might be a very unpopular opinion. A lot of people might feel like, well, Drew has the right to talk about whatever the hell she wants to talk about. Okay, that's fine. But then she's going to have to suffer the consequences of that. And the consequences is she was up there crying, her tears dropping in her lobster tails. That's what happened when she decided to talk about whatever she wanted to talk about. I think she should have just, because he had worked so hard to make this day special for her, she should have just been like, okay, you know what? Let's pump the brakes on our marital issues and just talk about something else other than our problems. Because I think that's the atmosphere he was trying to create. And she just wanted, she was like, well, I can't communicate. I can't say what I want to say. And then he ended up saying something that the counselor had told them. And then she was like, oh, okay, so you do want to talk about our marital problems. And I just wish that they would have tried harder to not do that. So anyways, he tells her, you need to schedule a special appointment with our counselor because you need to learn how to talk to a man. You need to learn how to talk with, you need to learn how to talk appropriately and effectively. And then she goes, well, you need to learn how to talk to a woman. So then they went completely left after that. He got up and he was like, you know what, this is not what I intended. I didn't want it to go this way. He ends up leaving. She ends up crying. And I'm just like, y'all are just a hot mess. Ralph is very problematic. I can't believe they're in marriage counseling and he's not changing. He's not making any progress. He's still weird. And their communication is non-existent. They don't know how to communicate with each other. I don't know. I think this is the end. I really do think that I don't see this working out because Ralph is not willing to change. He's not willing to put in the work. Like, how could you hire a female assistant? Okay, fine. You hired a female assistant. It doesn't mean that you're having an affair with her. But as soon as you found out that your wife wasn't happy about it, you should have let her go. And for you to be like, okay, yeah, I fired her, but we still talk. What? He's extremely problematic. He doesn't get it. He's so lost. And then, okay, he plans a special night. I think Drew should have just given him the benefit of the doubt and said, look, if you really want us to have a stress-free, drama-free night, okay, that's what I'm going to give you. And then just see if he follows through with it. And maybe that's what it, I don't know. Maybe that's what it could have taken for him to kind of get back on the right track. If he saw that his wife really truly appreciated this, and if he could tell that his wife was really trying with him to get back on track. It's not just her responsibility, it's his responsibility as well. But I don't know, this marriage is it's awful. I don't know how they've lasted as long as they've lasted. I don't know if they've changed because of the show or what the hell is going on with these people, but this marriage is, it's not good. It's not good at all. And no one wants to see a marriage break up, especially when you have very small children. And then you also have Drew's son, who's already lost one dad, and then who knows what's going to happen between Drew and Ralph. This is not good. This is not good at all. It's very problematic. Thank you so much for joining me in this review. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe. If you don't like this content, perfectly okay. Thank you for stopping by anyway, and I will talk to you later. Bye.